Wednesday live lesson from Digital DJ Tips. And today we're talking, well, no surprises, the new AlphaTheta CDJ-3000X. So if you've been busy doing something else today, you might not know that AlphaTheta has launched its new media players. These are the replacement for the CDJ-3000s. So like them or hate them, these are going to be the, in inverted commas, club standard for the next 5 years. And so today we're going to talk CDJ-3000X. Who are they aimed at? Would you pay $3,000 for a media player that doesn't have stems in 2025? Because that's what they're asking per unit. You're going to need 2 of them. So we're talking $6,000 plus a mixer. You're going to need new flight cases because they're a different size to the old ones. Well, you might not. You might be able to squeeze them in. They're majoring on cloud features, but do cloud features really matter? And how much are DJs wanting that stuff? Or maybe tomorrow's DJs will want them, and AlphaTheta are being kind of canny in incorporating this into their gear now. Why are they so scared of branding them? They do not have anything other than this tiny little AlphaTheta logo on the back. Is this the beginning of DJ equipment as a service? Because in order to use some of the features on these, you need to have a Rekordbox Plus cloud account, which will cost you money. Are they priced for corporations and not artists? All of these are the kind of questions that have been asked in the comments underneath our video that we put live reviewing these today. If you don't know that much about them and you want to learn more about them, then you can head over to the Digital DJ Tips website. This is what it looks like. Go to reviews and you'll find that the top review, in fact, it hasn't even got there yet. It's how new it is. Go to the news page. You'll see the news about this, but you'll also be able to click through to the CDJ-3000X review here, where you'll also find our video. Underneath that video, you can find lots of chat going on, so you can use that to get up to speed with what's happening with these units. However, you can also get up to speed by not only contributing here, but just listening to what everyone else has got to say about it. It is certainly dividing opinion. CDJ-3000X. There we go. I haven't changed my shirt since yesterday. That's how busy I've been. It's certainly dividing opinion. There's features on here that people love, features on here that have got people totally scratching their heads. So we want to know what you think. It's all about you today. That's why it's a live stream. That's why it's a live show, because I've got all your comments coming in here on the computer and I'm going to basically answer them, help you to discuss this, get the debate going. We're a wonderful community, so I expect politeness and I expect constructive stuff. If you want to shout and troll, then plenty of other channels are there for you. All right, let's get on with it then. We're talking CDJ-3000X. Well, firstly, what does the X stand for? A few people have been slyly saying things like, well, clearly it's expensive, but hey, they've always been expensive. What does the X stand for? What do you think? And also CDJ. They haven't had CD slots on the front for many, many years now. So what does the CDJ stand for? Well, it could stand for cloud, because now when you turn these things on, cloud login is one of the main features. And you can log in by using your QR code scanner, or you can use an NFC on your phone if you've got the phone Rekordbox app. Cloud is big on this. You can see here we've got Rekordbox, we've got Tidal, we've got Beatport. This is my own collection in Rekordbox's cloud that I'm accessing all over the internet. This is a big new thing. So does C in CDJ now stand for Cloud DJ? Who knows? What do you think? I'm really looking forward to this discussion. So please, let's get started. So this is a Q&A. First question from Low Moral Fiber. Can the screen be tilted? It's a great question, but no, the screens cannot be tilted. They are fixed as they've always been fixed. So that's unlike the Denon DJ Prime 4 Plus, which has got a tiltable screen. You're the second person who's asked that, and it's the first time I've really thought about it. It's not something that I think many people ask, but hey, no, they can't. So Shine Recordings says, why is the CDJ-3000X a flagship product under the name AlphaTheta? We thought this would remain as Pioneer DJ Pro. This is the real DJ brand and not a corporate name like AlphaTheta. Right, so I am going to tread carefully here, because AlphaTheta clearly communicate with us. We've had these in the studio for a week or two now, so we can prepare our material and we can learn them, so we can help you understand them. And so we talk to them. We talk to the guys over there. And they've said to us, look, just to be clear, this is what's going on with our name. And then they send you like a list of things that at the end of it, you are no clearer. In fact, far from it. You're even more scratching your head about their name. This is how it is, right? And I'm observing this in the same way that you're observing this. There ain't been no products with the word Pioneer DJ on them ever since they announced the name AlphaTheta. Go figure. Do you think there ever going to be any more products with the name Pioneer DJ on them? All I'm saying is past performance doesn't necessarily indicate future performance, but hey, if it's all you've got to go on plus a load of gobbledygook, you make your own mind up. At the moment, we are seeing product after product after product coming out under the AlphaTheta name. Not only these here, of course, but things like the XDJ-AX, which I have over here, AlphaTheta. The Opus Quad was probably the last product that wasn't AlphaTheta. I'm pretty sure that was Pioneer DJ, and that should have been, right? Because they were saying things like, oh, you know, all our futuristic new stuff is going to be under the new brand name. Well, that was a pretty futuristic product. But hey, it looks to me like everything's going to be called AlphaTheta from now on. But honestly, ask the question and you'll get an essay back and you won't be any wiser. Hello to the Ruckus. Hello to Lou. Good to see you here, my friend. Hello to David and Don. Easy DJ says, just waiting to see the 3000X in one of those how long does the backspin last videos. Oh, well, shall we have a how long does the backspin last video now? We can do that for you right away. So let's do it. Let's go somewhere way deep in this and let's set the jog feel to the most light possible. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1, backspin. Well, that's quite a long time, isn't it? Let's set it to the most heavy setting. There's actually a good point here because they've made that more extreme than the old one. The backspin on loose kind of goes on forever. The old one didn't go on that long, and the backspin on heavy stops quicker. So they have changed that, and believe it or not, some DJs, that's an important thing. Well, there you go. There's a live demo as to the truth there. Right, so Vera Gali on Twitch says, has CDJ-3000 production stopped? How long can we buy the CDJ-3000s for? It's a good question. I would imagine it has stopped. I imagine that now the only ones in the shops are going to be these ones here. But you might get a bargain if you're lucky. Sometimes it goes in either direction, doesn't it? Sometimes you can get bargains, but other times supply kind of dries up and no one can get the new ones and the price goes up temporarily. So in truth, I don't know the answer to that, but I would imagine they'll be gone pretty soon. So Tidal is in, says Don. Yes, Tidal is definitely in on these units. It's one of these streaming services that they offer alongside Beatport. By the way, something that was slightly annoying on the first version of the firmware here is the whole point of this is that you can sign in to an account which you have. So for instance, if you have Rekordbox on your computer, then you will have an account for Rekordbox, right? And you'll have a login. That's the way it works. So once you've got Rekordbox on your computer, as I have here, you will have an AlphaTheta login, assuming that you're using their cloud services and so on. If you weren't, then you wouldn't be using this. Once you've got that login, you can log in here, and that's where logging in with the codes I was showing you earlier here, this stuff works. So you can log in with your phone or whatever. So this is good. But the problem is that you still have to log in with Beatport. So in other words, you've used your phone to really quite smartly log into these units in the DJ booth or whatever. And then you're on here like this, typing in just so you can log into Beatport, which is obviously bad. So the word on the street is that this is something they're going to fix in an early update to the firmware. I suspect they just couldn't get this code written in time. Tidal, you can log into Tidal once and it will remember it forever in your account. And that's obviously how it should work. And they've also said they're going to add more streaming services. However, they've made promises like that before with other units and people have waited for like literally years for it to happen. So I would say definitely if you're buying a set of these, buy them for the features they have now, not for the features that are being promised for down the line. I mean, it's basically hedging your bets that way, aren't you? Right, what else have you got to say about these? We're talking CDJ-3000X today. We're answering all your questions. No Tux on YouTube. There is no Apple Music at launch on this. Devin says this is 8 years late. Well, we could have a debate about features and so on, which I'm happy to do if you want to talk about that. So rather than one-liners, ask your questions, make your points, and we will share them. Disco Doctor says, hey, I'd love to know how many subscriptions I'd need in order to stream using these new CDJs. If you are setting a trap for me to just tell you all the subscriptions, it ain't no trap, because I don't care, I'll tell you the truth. But it is a certain number of subscriptions, so let's talk them through one by one. And of course, I don't think you are. I think you're asking a genuine question, so that's cool. Let's look at them all, Disco Doctor. Right, what subscriptions do you need to use all the cloud features on this? The first subscription you're going to need is to rekordbox, because rekordbox software has a cloud option, and the cloud option in rekordbox will let you store your local library in Dropbox. They'll give you a Dropbox as part of your subscription. The good news is that you can use that Dropbox for yourself as well, and they can't see all your files or anything in there. So you could subscribe and say, you know what, I'll cancel my own Dropbox subscription, which means that at least you're saving a bit of money there. But you're going to need to use one of their plans, Creative or Pro with Cloud, in order to be able to see this cloud thing at all. So in here now, this is my library. This is exactly the same library that you're seeing there, and that's because I have a cloud subscription. That is the first subscription that you're going to need. The second one that you're going to need is a streaming service, assuming you want a streaming service. So if you want Beatport, which should be the obvious one to go for, and again, you need to put your username and password in currently to get there, you'd need to subscribe to that as well. The third subscription that you need is if you want to prepare your music on your phone. If you want to be able to see the same library that we're looking at there on our laptop and here on our CDJ-3000X, if you want to be able to then see that laptop here on your phone, that library here on your phone, so that you can prepare your cues, you can build playlists, you can prepare your tunes, you can even practice. And then all that stuff is waiting for you when you come to your CDJs or indeed to your software and controller. Then you're going to need to pay a subscription for the phone app as well, because that one is $5 a month or something for that. So they all add up. And by the way, if you want to do that cool stuff where you log in by holding your phone against the front of the unit, you're going to need that subscription for that as well, the same one. So minimum subscriptions, if you don't want to want the streaming services, you just want to use the cloud to have your own music everywhere, would be the rekordbox Creative subscription. But if you then want to start using your phone, extra subscription, a streaming service like Beatport or Tidal, extra subscription. They all add up, don't they? Are we getting to the point where we're seeing software and hardware together as a service? A bit like something like Sonos, where you buy the hardware, but you need to subscribe if you want to use services within that. Maybe we are. What do you think about that? Is it the way the world's going, or do you not like it? Share. I'd love to hear. Thank you, Disco Doctor, for the question. Don says it seems to be exactly the same layout as this. I don't know why this is turned off. I had this turned on earlier. Maybe I've accidentally turned the thing off down here. Who knows? Because it doesn't look very nice on my camera, does it, when it's turned off? Oh, it's on. There we go. We've got it back. Welcome back. XDJ-AZ. Same layout as the XDJ-AZ, you say? Well, nearly the same layout. So let's talk about the layout, because for people who aren't used to the AlphaTheta Pioneer DJ way, if you like, this might be something that you will learn. So look, the point is that they try and keep their gear all the same whatever you're on, even if you're using a little controller, right? Even if you're using something like this, their idea is, look, we want our software, we want our hardware to all look and feel reasonably the same, so that when you move up through the chain, you're not being faced with something you don't know. One of the great strengths of this whole system is that you can use the same software when you buy one of these that you're using here to prepare your music. Hey, hello, Phil, to prepare your music for these, right? And so the layout is something that they've kind of kept over the years and refined over the years. Everyone knows the layout. So here we've got the mixer in the middle, we've got the effects here, we've got the sweep effects here, sound color effects here rather, and then the layout here is very similar. So you've got your jog wheel, you've got your looping at the top here, you've got your memory cues over here, and these vinyl and track search and so on controls are all in the same place. The pads here are not the same. So over on this unit here, over on this setup here, there's no pads at the bottom here. They just don't do that. They're on hot cues at the top. And of course, the screen, instead of being in the middle, there's one screen on each. The mixer is very, very similar. Again, you've got your beat effects here. You've got your sound color effects here. You've got your your 4 channels in the middle and your effect on off and so on. So this is all similar. Again, similar, we've got our memory cues, our loops and our track search and our vinyl, and all that stuff is in the same place. So the idea is that you're meant to be familiar with all of this, whichever gear you use from this brand. So yes, you're right, it is a similar layout to the XDJ-AZ, the big difference being the pads. So Cloud DJ instead of CDJ, as in compact disc jockey. I like it, says Lou. Yeah, I think Cloud DJ is probably what CDJ will stand for in the name in a generation's time, for sure. Will stems somehow be added to this down the road? This is a good question, and I was saying in our community when we were talking about this, look, probably not on these units, because I just can't see anywhere where you could put it. I mean, where would they go? Where would you put the controls to turn them on and off? But then someone said, duh, you'd put them on the screen. And of course, that's quite right. You've got looping controls up here on the screen anyway, and so on. So why not have the stems controls on the screen? I think that it would be possible. I still don't think it's going to happen on these units. I just don't. However, I do think in the future it will. I really do. It just was one of those things that is going to have to happen at some point. Stems, by the way, if you're new to all of this, is when you have immediate separation of vocals, drums, melody, bass line from each other. So you can DJ with just the vocals, an a cappella, or just an instrumental, or you can put the vocal through the effects and nothing else, and that kind of thing. So I do think it'll come. However, I did have a thought, and my thought was, I don't have them very often, so hear me out. My thought was, why not put the stems in the mixer rather than in the decks? Because if you think about it, in the mixer, you've got your EQs, low, mid and high, and some people have stems mapped to the EQs anyway, so vocals, melody and drums or whatever. But also, in a way, you've got the whole signal coming in the back, and the mixer is where you change the original audio. Now, the decks is where you change the way the audio is playing. In other words, which bit are you going to play, how fast are you going to jump around and so on. But here is where you change what you do with the complete frequencies that come in. So having stems built into here, to me, might make sense. Imagine if you had a button or set of 4 buttons here that were for each of the stems on or off, right, for each channel. And then imagine if around the back, you could have your record decks plugged in alongside your CDJs. And then when you press the button here for your record decks, you could separate the stems in real time on old vinyl and things like that as well. That'd be quite cool. But the trouble is the mixer would have to have a really, really good processor in it and would cost an awful lot of money. But hey, guess what? If you did it and 1 or 2 big name DJs liked it, they might specify it on their riders and everyone would have to get one. Anyway, utter speculation. But anyway, Charles, I would like to see a Pioneer air fryer. It would be an AlphaTheta air fryer, I'm absolutely sure. Hello, Beatrice, who says, hi, Phil. Hello, party people. Long time no see. Same back to you, Beatrice. Whatever happened to Kenwood, says Charlie. Yeah, they'd probably be better for the air fryer, wouldn't they? They should remove CDJ and call it a multimedia player. They used to call them multimedia players, I think. In fact, I think on the CDJ-3000, that's exactly what they've got written on the front of it. Let's have a look. There we go. Multiplayer. But they've taken that off as part of the overall cleanup of these units here. They've taken that off and it just says CDJ-3000X. But it is kind of a multiplayer, right? It plays different media from different places. So yeah, it's probably a better description of it. Fair point there. So I need to get a second pair of Pioneer DJ headphones before the name goes. I mean, let's talk about the name. I was kind of a bit facetious earlier saying, you know, they don't want to talk about the change, even they don't seem to know what's going on. But this is the name now, right? And as Mojax said, by the way, we've got a fantastic couple of podcasts that we recorded with Mojax over the summer. Do go check them out on our podcast channel. We were talking 7-inch DJing and 15 years of DJ gear and stuff. Anyway, as Mojax said in his video about these, why on earth have they swapped the best, like most obvious place to stick the brand's name, where when you've got a DJ playing in front of these on YouTube with 2 or 3 million views, they're not playing in front of 1 or 2, they're playing in front of 4 of these things. And they had the name of the company on all 4. Pioneer DJ, Pioneer DJ, Pioneer DJ, Pioneer DJ. Why swap that just for a tiny little logo? Is that because they're super confident about their product, or are they kind of like losing it a bit? And it's an interesting debate, isn't it? Because if you go and buy I don't know, you go and buy a new car, let's say, you don't expect to have the brand name of the car in huge letters across it, right? Because that would be a bit crass, a bit silly. And one thing I do think, and I really genuinely think this, is that might just be looking a bit old-fashioned now. Everyone knows it's a Pioneer DJ player, right? No one else makes them like this. So do you really need a massive name across the back of it? Or, I'm just going to put that back, that's my tidy boy. Or actually, seeing that not all of us are DJs, and a lot of people watching videos and stuff where it's on there just don't really know about this stuff, maybe it is educating the next generation about who makes these things. But, or is this enough? Because look, everyone knows what this is. And as I say, no one else makes them. So is it super confident, or is it a bit of a misstep doing this? It's an interesting one, isn't it? A lot of you loving the backstep challenge, by the way. So I'm glad you enjoyed that. Charles indeed says that was the coolest backspin I've ever heard. And Nick says you can do it faster than that. I know, it's like one of those things where you hit it or punch it, isn't it? And see how high you can get the weight at the fair. Can Phil do a faster backspin than that? Who knows? But Easy DJ says, well, we've got an answer. It's quite long. Right, I've seen loads of people talking about the name change, says Ekdum on YouTube, but it's the same team. Yeah, it's exactly the same team. It's just corporate stuff. I wonder how the streaming from Beatport will work at Glastonbury or Coachella in the middle of a field. Well, it all depends on the internet, of course. But hey, yeah, of course. One thing they have done, which I didn't mention in my review, I completely forgot to, so I'll mention it now, is that they've added a new feature so that you can change so in here with our beats, I don't know exactly where it is actually. If you're adjusting the beat grid, you can half or double the beat grid now on the unit itself. So this will stop the Grimes. Remember the Grimes mess up where she was having all her tracks playing at double speed or half speed? One tap will fix that now. So they've added that. I forgot to mention that in the review. Marcellus on YouTube, I hope this makes Denon drop the new SC6000 with Apple Music. Well, yeah, maybe they will. So the word bargain and pioneer do not go well together, says Devin. I think you can certainly say that about this gear. I mean, I was talking to this with our team in the studio before we went live. The thing is, most people playing on these are not buying them. They are playing on them and someone else has paid for them, right? It's like when you're traveling business class on a plane, unless you are loaded with cash, someone's paid for it, right? You're being flown somewhere by a company. The company is paying because the value you're giving to them is more than what they're paying to get you to go where you're going. With these things, venues get them because the DJs that are coming to play on them are earning them more money than it costs them to keep a set of CDJ-3000Xs in order to kit the DJ booth out, right? You don't generally buy these things yourself. And so that's the difference. That's why something like this will cost you a lot less than something like this, but the XDJ-AZ will do most of the same stuff. Because ultimately, one of them is aimed at you, the consumer, the person buying it for your own use, and the other one is aimed at the clubs and venues where you turn up and play on their gear, right? I think it's worth remembering that. I think I'm a bit distracted here, working from home and trying to type in different screens. It's dangerous. Yes, sorry to everyone who's following this because you're good DJs and you are also trying to work. Such is life. They're forcing people to buy the new 3000X by stopping the 3000. Well, ultimately, if you replace a product, then yes, I suppose you are forcing people to buy the latest version of the product. So Denon had Wi-Fi and streaming on their decks back in 2017. I don't think it was that early, but yeah, they've had it a while. This is insane. It's 2025. Well, these have now got Wi-Fi and streaming on them, so I guess it's not as insane as it was this time yesterday. Backflow. Phil, when connected to a computer with Rekordbox, can you move the center line to the left through the unit itself? I don't think so. I know what you mean, the playhead. I don't think so, no. I've not tried that. But Kevin, why is there no SD card slot? Yes, that's one of the things they've done. They've removed the SD card slot. And I kind of understand why. Not many people are using SD card slots anymore. And I'm like you, I kind of miss it, but not too much, in all honesty. And the reason I think is that USB-Cs are now becoming more and more and more just the most common way of doing things. Fewer and fewer computers have got the SD card output on it. So you need an adapter somewhere along the line just to put it on an SD card. So honestly, I don't think it makes an awful lot of difference, but to some people it does. I mean, the good thing about the SD card was you could hide it, right? You could put it in and it would not be poking out. And one thing about these is that anything you put in these is going to poke out a little bit too much, I think, because they're just flush with the surface, right? You've still got the old USB-A, by the way, there as well. And round the back, it's also USB-C. It's not the bigger lead anymore around the back of the unit as well. So it's worth bearing in mind. What else have we got? Any questions? We're talking CDJ-3000X and it's fantastic. What a community. Great questions. Nice level of politeness, unlike what you get elsewhere, which is just what I expect from you. So keep it up, folks. So this is from Owen, who says, I think these new CDJs are overpriced rubbish. As soon as I say that, we get the old drama in the chat. I think you can get a Denon for half the price. They're shit, don't buy them. Look, they're not aimed at you in that case, my friend. Yes, you can buy other DJ gear at other prices, so go buy it. What I really don't understand is people feeling that they've got to slag off stuff that they don't want. Ultimately, it's up to you what you buy. And if people don't buy the stuff the companies make, the companies will not be around in a few years' time to make more stuff. So the fact that the companies are still there and have been there for years and years means they're doing enough right for enough people to exist. So less of the, this is rubbish, only buy this. You've got to be mad to do that. You're a fanboy of this. You're an idiot. Less of that chat and more of the, who's this for? What's it doing well? What could it do better? I don't get it, folks. I don't get it. And I'm the same with everyone. I'm the same with every kind of DJ gear, every company. If it finds an audience, great. Because there's a lot of good stuff out there that was either too early or wasn't thought through properly or answered questions people didn't have. For every success, there's 10 things that fail. One thing you cannot say about this gear here and about any of the gear we spend time with here in the studio, frankly, because we don't waste time on gear that we don't think is going to work and that we wouldn't use ourselves. One thing you can say about anything we feature from any brand is that it's a success. It's solving a problem for DJs. It's helping people do this thing called DJing. So let's be less dramatic and let's take a deep breath and let's think what's things doing well, what's things not doing well, and let's be constructive in the way we talk about this stuff. Sorry, but I need to have that rant every now and then because if I don't have it every now and then, things degenerate. And most people get it, right? Most people can take a breath before typing expletives about stuff. Right, consider yourself slapped. This sounds a bit pricey for me right now. Yes, a few of you saying that, of course, as we were saying earlier, this is not designed for the likes of you and me to go out. I mean, I was doing some back of envelope stuff. If you go and buy 4 of these and 1 of these, you won't have any change from $15,000. That is absolutely crazy. And as you were pointing out there, you can buy other brands at half the price, which would be only 7 or 8 grand, right? For the same thing. Or you can go and buy something that's all in one and you can get it all for 2 or 3 grand, right? So the point is, or you can go buy something like this or equivalent from other makers and a simple laptop or even use your phone and you can be doing this thing called DJing for $200 or $300. There is DJ gear out there for everyone and any DJ gear nowadays can do more than the DJ gear did when I was a kid and that we learned on and that we cut our teeth on. So we're spoiled, people. Don't forget that. Right, this is from Chris, who says, it sounds like your mic is clipping a little bit. That's because I'm getting too passionate. I'll try and keep my voice down a little bit, Chris. Mike says, I understand it's a new shiny device, but what's the actual added value of this compared to their other products? I mean, you just want to play records, right? Yes, of course you do. And the point with these units is that they're designed for venues. They're designed for places where different things kick in that are important. So for instance, modularity. This one breaks down, you can slot another one in mid-set, never mind between gigs or between events. This breaks down, you can slot another one in. If you need to plug other stuff around the back of, for instance, the mixer, you can plug other stuff around the back because it's got lots of inputs on it. You're paying for all this stuff. When it comes to these units here, you can use, as we've just talked about, you can use music from all over the place, even more so nowadays. They design them so that they won't hopefully break. Now, a lot of DJs complain about things on gear that finally gives up in the end. One of the things people complained on with the previous one, was that the buttons broke in the end. Well, everything's going to break in the end. So one of the things in their PR they talked about a lot was that they've tested the buttons to 3 million presses, which is 500,000 more than the previous one. Now, not only is that geeky, but it's a pretty dull selling point, right? Unless you're a venue and you've had CDJs with broken buttons. So now you know they're going to last a bit longer. So they're designed to do stuff that is a bit boring to us, right? But to venues where they're in use day after day after day, they have features on them that you pay for that you might never use, but someone might use, and they have to have them there just in case, especially with things like the matching mixes and so on, which, you know, you can, the DJ mix, right, here's a good example of what you're getting on pro gear that you're not getting on what I call prosumer gear, which is gear that's designed for consumers, but that's very, very nice, right? So on something like this, I'm sorry it's a bit dark, I can probably lighten that up a little bit if I try, but I'm not going to try live on air. And if you look at something like this, the mixer here, right, it looks very, very similar to the mixer here, but it isn't. Yes, it's got a lot of the same features, but it's got none of the flexibility of the mixer that you buy separately, the DJ-MA9 that I've got on the main desk, right? And so here you're getting 80% of the features, if you like, all in one box at a third of the price or a quarter of the price, which is all most of us need, right? So when you move up to gear like this, you're getting the professional stuff that is utter overkill for you and me. I would never ever recommend any student of this school go and spend 15,000 on 4 of these on one of these. It's utter madness. You don't need to. You don't need any of those features because you're not a venue with people using them night after night. So that's kind of where the new added value is on stuff like this, Mike. Right, okay, this is from Tom, who says stems are never going to be utilized by professionals. Professional producers and DJs make their own acapellas beforehand. Stems sound terrible on a loud system. I agree with you. I think stems are something that is talked about and used by hobbyists, by early adopters, by people playing parties where everything's a bit looser. When it comes to the bigger stages, when it comes to really nice sound systems, when it comes to huge venues, I agree with you. I just don't think most DJs want to press a button and not know exactly what it's going to sound like when they do, and you don't know with stems. So Devin, I know Pioneer, they'll probably release a CDJ-3000S for stems to make more money. Oh, 3000S, I like it. I like where you're coming from there. Who knows? Is the jog wheel bigger on the 3000? This is a really good question. No, it isn't. The jog wheel on the 3000 looks bigger because this bezel around here on the 3000 is a light color. So it makes the whole jog wheel look bigger. We put them next to each other and had a look, and it does look bigger, but it isn't. The jog wheel hasn't changed size at all. Also, these are bigger units, right? So because the unit's wider, the jog wheel looks smaller, but it's not true. People, we're talking CDJ-3000X. We're keeping the conversation useful for people. We're not saying, I prefer this or that shit or, you know, whatever. We're not doing that. If you do, you're going to get my wrath. We want to get constructive views on this. We want to talk who this is for, who it isn't for. And we want to have a useful conversation that is going to be worth watching for those who aren't lucky enough to be with us today. So keep it polite, make your points constructively and in language which I can read out, please. And let's carry on. It's really nice to have so many of you being so good in this chat and suggesting things that I've not thought of as well, which is what these are so good for. So this is from Andre, who says no stems support means Serato is going to keep grabbing market share from Rekordbox. Nothing but missteps from AlphaTheta recently. I'm not so sure about that. First, I'm not so sure that Serato is grabbing market share from anyone. If anyone's grabbing market share right now, I think it's probably Algorithm with their DJ Pro. It's got the best sounding stems out there, but also the best beat grids out there. They're just innovating really fast. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I think there is room for everyone here. As we were just talking about earlier, I think professional DJs have sometimes surprising needs, which are less about innovation and novelty and more about reliability and familiarity. And so I do think there's room for everyone. That said, I totally agree with you. They're going to have to put stems in their gear at some point. I agree with you. Kamal says, brilliant suggestion, Phil. Definitely get the stems in the mixer away from the decks. I mean, if you think about it, the way they're implemented on controllers, it's a mix of both, isn't it? So yeah, maybe it'll happen. If it was actually a good logo, it would matter, but I don't like the logo. I don't know. I mean, logos are logos. Yeah, hear your point. And it's not even very bright, is it? You know, so yeah. Right, what else have we got? I'm just scanning. There's so many of you making the same points that we've already covered. So I just want to check something new. Here's a good one. Nicholas, can you have each signed into a different Wi-Fi network? So if one drops, the other one can keep both decks going. Yes and no. Yes, you can have each signed into a different Wi-Fi network. No, the Wi-Fi network isn't shared between the units. So the way you log into the Wi-Fi on this is you hold the menu button and you click network and you click Wi-Fi setting, and then you wait for the Wi-Fi networks to come up. Now on this unit, they don't come up at all. On this unit, they do. But I think there's a fault in the, hopefully in the firmware on that unit. So on this unit here, I click Wi-Fi settings and all the Wi-Fi networks will come up here in a second or two. But like I say, over here, there you go, you see they've arrived. Over here, it never happens. So in theory, you should be able to see the Wi-Fi networks on each unit when you go there, and you can log in. So yes, you can log into a different network on each unit, but they don't share the network between them, even if you've got them networked up with cables. So it's a bit messy the way all the networking works on these right now. But yes, you could log them into different Wi-Fi networks as well. Kevin, SD cards just feel safer than USBs. I agree. Any comments on the new sound card? I'm not the person to ask. It sounds great to me. I haven't played it on a festival sound system. I have listened to it on these rather nice free-motor headphones, and it sounds very nice. But to me, they've always sounded good. So I don't think there's anything to talk about there from my point of view. They sound good. I do wish there were separates priced more in the mid-range, says Harmonic Boom on Twitch, something that could compete with the high-end all-in-ones. They kind of are. I mean, there's mixers and stuff which are not so expensive. This little Newmark Scratch is a lovely mixer, and it's not very expensive at all that I've got in the background here. And you can get little media players, so you can get the what they call the LC6000. Controller decks, which are not very expensive if you want to use it with software. Also, they still sell the XDJ decks. AlphaTheta or Pioneer still sell the XDJ decks, which aren't very expensive. So these things do still exist. Does editing the playlist order update the order of a USB drive? Right, this is a good question. This is a technical question. Let's have a look at it. So on these new units, one of the things you can do is go to your playlist. So I'll go into this playlist here, my early doors playlist, click edit, and then you can move the tracks around, right? So you can turn a playlist into a set list, right? So you click edit, you grab a track and you move it, right? So that's what I'm doing here. You can also delete tracks, by the way, by just going like that. It's quite hard to do. In fact, I've not managed it yet. There you go. See, there's a little delete sign there. So on playlists, you have got a bit of editing available now. So the question is, do they update on the SD card? So not the SD card anymore, of course, on the plugged in USB device, or do they update on the cloud? Well, the answer is both, depending on what you're playing from. So for instance, I've just messed around with that playlist there now. That will be reflected on the laptop version of the software because everything is linked together via Rekordbox Cloud, because that's one of the subscriptions I'm playing. So if I go into my playlist on here, then my early doors playlist will reflect the changes I've just made over on here. But if you're not using the cloud, if you're using the old-fashioned way with SD cards, then, or I keep saying SD cards, it's on my tongue, with a USB drive, when you then take that USB drive and plug it back into your computer, it will update your master version of Rekordbox on your computer with those changes. So that method still works, but also if you're in the cloud, it's better. I think in the end, you're going to be able to do a lot more editing on the playlist on these units. And then of course, if you have got a cloud subscription, that's great because it will reflect everywhere that you are using your Rekordbox. Right, okay. What's your thought on the Rain 1 Mark II controller with stems? Is Pioneer being left behind? No, totally different question. There is a whole load of controllers out there that use stems. All software has stems nowadays. So no, I think controllers are all vying for a different market. We'll keep it about the CDJ-3000s here right now. The DJ Lab, thank you for your kind comments. It's sometimes a challenge to keep the chat cool, but I do try my hardest. Right, okay, what else have we got? This is from Mac. It better not break, says Mac for 3000. Yeah, totally hear you, Mac. Nicholas, can you connect each to... Oh, right, you already asked that. Gives me a good opportunity to point to this. Well, it's a new term. We've got new students. ask once, please, people. Do not ask your question more than once. It interrupts the flow of the live stream, and if I see it, I just won't answer you. So please only ask your question once. Cut and paste is not your friend in our comments. This is from the Ruckus. Since there are no logos on the players, it still looks like a Pioneer DJ setup anyway, because the A9 still has the logo in the middle. Yeah, I guess the A9 still has the logo on the top of it here, doesn't it? But they've kind of lost that real estate on the back of the players for sure. So I think we are going to end it kind of here, because I think we've probably answered most of the things that you are asking. I'm just scrolling down now here through the rest of the comments. Once more, thank you very much everyone for keeping it polite and cool. I mean, it's DJing we're talking about here. It's not serious. It's spiritual. It's making people happy with music. Try and remember that. Tuan says this is a fine upgrade for those on older CDJs and who want to stick with the Pioneer AlphaTheta record box ecosystem. The head scratching part is that most of the new stuff feels like it could have been added by software. Do you know, you're making a very, very good point there. Some of the stuff in here is nothing more than software updates, and arguably it could easily have been added to the CDJ-3000. Wouldn't it be nice if they did that? I cannot guarantee or even give you any hope that that's going to happen, quite frankly. I just don't think it will. Right, I am going to leave it there. I hope this has been useful to you here live. Please keep asking questions underneath and we'll do our best to answer them and help you. If you're watching the recording, I hope that having the community here in one of these live shows has helped, but do go and look at the actual full review on YouTube that we made of this as well, because that is covering all the new features in a lot more detail. And you can also find a review on Digital DJ Tips where you will be able to read all the stuff that is new on these units and get our thoughts on it there. So do go check all of that stuff out, and I will see you again on Tuesday next week for another one of these shows. If you're a Digital DJ Tips student or subscriber, do come and join me in your private members course owners group for our first student live session of the new term, which is this Thursday at the same time, 4 p.m. London, 11 a.m. Eastern in your group. I look forward to seeing you on one of those live shows, I hope. Do keep enjoying our content, and thank you for being here today. From me, Phil, in the studio, get good, get out there, make the moments. Until next time, bye for now.